We're a family here. This team is a family. Our team is a family. That is the biggest corporate red flag for me. When I hear we're a family, I know we're in trouble. Hi, welcome back to Built to Grow, the podcast where we get real about what it takes to evolve both personally and professionally. My name is Valdet Selimaj. I am your host. I'm also a coach, facilitator, and consultant, and founder of DevCore Consulting. You've heard it before. There's no I in team, but the truth that doesn't get talked enough about is that there's also no family in team. And that's a good thing. No, that's not just a good thing. It's a great thing. And in today's episode, I'm breaking down why calling your team is not only misleading, but it also damages culture, performance, and leads to negative mental health outcomes. We'll explore the difference between families and teams, what the benefit is of having clarity between those, what happens when leaders blur those lines, and most importantly, what does it take to actually build a cohesive team? Your team is not and should not be a family. So let's get into it. First, we have to just understand groups. So we think about a group is anything more than one person. So 2 people is considered a group. It's called a dyad. 3 people are considered a group, a triad, and so on and so forth, anything more than one. There are different types of groups, and every group has their own characteristics, has their own expectations, and has their own behaviors that are connected with it. So first, let's just talk about groups that we are part of. The first group we're going to talk about is also the first group that we are exposed to. That is family. So family can be defined as anyone who is related to you by blood, marriage, or adoption. This is the first group that we're exposed to. This is the group that creates context of how we experience the world. It shapes our sense of belonging, culture, values, social norms, expected social behaviors, language, self-perception, self-esteem. All these things are influenced by this first group, family. Now, it's worth noting that family is associated with life satisfaction. So healthy family dynamics can contribute to positive life satisfaction. And there are some families that have unhealthy family dynamics that can lead to trauma, which can lead to negative mental health outcomes. The thing about family is that they are with us most of our lives. For the most part, there are exceptions, of course. I know LGBTQ plus people like myself often struggle with family dynamics. So there's a concept of chosen family. But generally speaking, for this group, we're talking about blood relatives, adoption, or marriage, any type of relation like that is family. And they're with you generally your entire life, every season. So that is family. Another group that we're talking about are teams. And a team is a group that is defined by their purpose. So a team exists to achieve a goal, to get results, and to complete tasks. They come together for that and that only. Now that's different than a family because the team, their whole purpose is to get something done, which is different than a family. Now keep in mind, a family can be a team because sometimes, maybe families work together, have their own business, or they have a crisis. So everyone has to play a part or achieve a goal. So that is part of it. A family can be a team, but the problem isn't with teams. It's how we mislabel them and the environment that we try to create. So why do leaders and organizations use the term family or the label family for a team? Well, because they're trying to inspire belonging, buy-in, connectedness, authenticity. They say, bring your full self to work. It's a well-intentioned concept, but we know what they say about good intentions, right? The road to hell is paved with good intentions. When we say things like bring yourself to work, it's misguided. The intention is good, but it's a misguided push. Here's why it fails. When we label a team as a family, it blurs the boundaries between what it means to be a team and what it means to be a family. And sometimes people will overlay family dynamics onto team dynamics. That creates confusion. It pressures people to sacrifice things for their family, like they will come in early, work through lunch, they'll stay late, because they'll feel this sense of pressure for the family. But that leads to burnout. It leads to poor mental health outcomes, and it creates a lot of mistrust and distrust on the team. And the real talk, remember I said earlier, your families are with you for a lifetime. Work can replace you in a heartbeat. Family can't. Think about that. Work can write you up, put you on a performance improvement plan, terminate you. Family doesn't do that. You may fight, you may not get along, but they don't fire you. So that's the thing we have to remember. And when we have the belief that the team is a family, but then you experience sanctions like termination, that hits very differently if you looked at them as a family. Here's what leaders and organizations are actually trying to do. Again, A for effort. What they're trying to do is create a cohesive team, but they use the family relationship as a tool or a reference point to bring people together, to get people to work together. But here's a couple things about that. One, families, like I said earlier, can be a point of trauma for some people. And so some people may come to work and this family ideology is forced upon them. It feels disingenuous. It feels fake. And it creates pressure to perform in a way that people don't want to. And we have to recognize that. But again, what people are trying to do is create a cohesive team. And so I want to introduce to you, how do we do that? What do teams actually need? Teams do not need to be called a family. Do not call your team a family. What teams need is to be a cohesive team. And we're going to use Patrick Lencioni's book, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, as our anchor for this, because this is actually what teams are trying to create, are these 5 behaviors. The book is The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. I am certified in the training, the 5 behaviors of a cohesive team, which I'll walk through just a little bit. Leaders and teams are trying to do is build these 5 behaviors. The first one is trust, vulnerable-based trust, that human-to-human connection, building authentic relationships, practicing empathy, social awareness, but really connecting with somebody on that human level, your teammate, on a human level. That doesn't mean sharing your whole life story, because there are some things that are not appropriate for work, but it does mean where we can connect, we do connect. When we create that vulnerable-based trust, if we look at like a pyramid, and if you can also check out my blog, valdetselimaj.com, I'll have all of this there too. When we have vulnerable-based trust established, that leads to healthy conflict. Because when I know we trust each other, and I know that your intentions are good, you have integrity, character, we can have healthy conflict. The team can engage in spirited debates, and we can disagree and we can go at it, but we all know we trust each other. So we know that the dialogue, that the conflict is safe and healthy because we get to speak our mind. And in fact, I can tell you, I've been doing this work for a long time. When I hear about a team who has a meeting and then they have a meeting after the meeting, so either a team member goes talk to their leader or their manager, or there's a committee that breaks away and meets at lunch and says something they didn't say in the meeting, that tells me we don't have trust established. Because we can have conflict if we have trust. But it's also a paradox, because when you have healthy conflict, that also establishes trust. If I don't know you, or we're a team and you say what's on your mind and you say the thing, I will trust you more because you're being open and honest and candid. That tells me about your integrity and your intent and your character. So when we have trust, we can have healthy conflict, and it also flips the other way. But when we have healthy conflict, that leads to the third behavior, commitment. If you say what's on your mind and I say what's on my mind, and the person next to me says what's on their mind, and we talk and we finally land on your idea, great. We just need to be heard. That's why people don't commit to things, is because they don't feel like they're heard. And so when we're able to commit to one idea, we can then move forward as the team. Remember, the goal is to be cohesive, not a family. So we can move forward as a team. When we have commitment and we say, hey, team, we all said we're going to do this together, that's where the fourth behavior comes in, accountability. Those feedback conversations. Hey, Valdet, you said you were going to do this and you haven't. Or here's an opportunity to do it differently. Here's what we said we were going to do. People are scared to hold others accountable because they may not even have committed to the thing we're trying to hold them accountable to. Or we have unspoken expectations, but when we have commitment, all the expectations are spoken. So the accountability part becomes easier. When we can hold each other accountable to the things we said we were going to do that we committed to, that takes us to our fifth behavior, results. We get results. We get stuff done. We meet our goal. We achieve our tasks. We do the thing that, remember, the purpose of the team exists to achieve something, to get results. This is the purpose of the team, to get the results. But what's interesting, there are teams that if you look at them on paper, they do get results. They're meeting goal, but they have no trust. They don't have any conflict, or they have unhealthy conflict, which is no conflict is unhealthy conflict. They don't commit to anything, and there's no accountability. That is a team that gets stuff done, but is a miserable time and is not cohesive. And that is what people are trying to solve for when they say we're families, to create that cohesion. We're not a family, but if we create this clear context of these 5 behaviors, what do they look like? What are the expectations? How do we show up for each other as a team? And we set the clarity that we are a team. We can be more cohesive because now we have clarity around our expectations and our role. When we try to put family into this, it does not contribute to the development of the team. It actually will stall the growth of the team because you're trying to overlay one group dynamics on top of another group. And that doesn't work. Here's why it doesn't work. Let me show you some examples of blurred boundaries that occur when you try to overlay 2 group dynamics into one. The first and foremost, it creates this pressure for an employee, a team member, you, to go above and beyond at the expense of your own personal life because it's a family. We're about a family, so we got to do it for the family. So people will come in late or come in early. They'll stay late. They'll work through lunch. They will take on extra projects. They will skip their own personal life events like children's recitals or a date. But that's called schedule creep. When your work life creeps into your personal life, we have an unhealthy dynamic happening. But people have this pressure because it's a family, to not disappoint, to achieve things for the family. And it actually forces people into to care that's not genuine. And it creates inauthentic relationships. It can even lead to damaging relationships that sometimes require repair and sometimes are above repair. And sometimes people will exit the relationship and they will exit the team. It's not because of the work. It's because of the culture, because they're trying to be a family when they don't want to be a family. Not everyone is connected to the work. Did you know that? Some people come to work, they're there just for the paycheck. And that's okay. We have to stop acting like it's not okay to just show up to work. A paycheck's a paycheck. If you're meeting expectations and you're meeting your goals, but trying to force family, especially for people, remember, who have had traumatic experiences with their own family, they don't want work to be family. They want work to be work. So we can't force that on people. And again, the reality is your families do not give you a performance review. They don't. They don't give you a performance review. They don't lay you off. They don't fire you. They don't suspend you. They don't give you a bonus. Maybe at Christmas sometimes, grandma, but that's why we have to treat a team as a team with some healthy behaviors. That's what we have to focus on. I also want to share with you, I am certified as a consultant and a facilitator of the 5 behaviors of a cohesive team, where teams can take an assessment that measures them on those 5 behaviors. They have data, feedback, scores, and then I work with them to raise those scores wherever they're low and then keep them high wherever they're high. So if you and your team are interested in learning more about going through the 5 behaviors of a cohesive team training, let me know. I will have my contact info. We can set up a call, talk about it. But it helps sometimes to have a third person who is seasoned and trained in this to help the team kind of work through some of these behaviors. But I also want to show you, how can you build a healthy team culture? Well, let me give you a couple of tips here. First and foremost, people don't want pizza parties. Yes, free food is nice, but that can't be your anchor if you are a leader or a business owner. The fun Office spaces are cool, but they're not what people really want. What people really want to have a cohesive team environment. They want clear expectations of what it means to be on the team in that role, what success looks like, what they can do, what they can't do. Clear expectations are so important. People also want fair compensation. People want to be paid fairly for the work that they do. And people also, they want low, unnecessary stress. They know that stress is part of it. People know that stress is part of any job, any career. But when we add unnecessary additional stress, it just takes away from the team dynamic. It takes away from the team health. It takes away from the camaraderie, and it leads to mistrust and distrust in you as the leader and as the business owner. And you also have to create boundaries. Boundaries are important. Look, when you look at evolutionary psychology, in human history, we survived as a species because we worked together as a team. So all the hunter-gatherers, there were people in the tribes and the villages that did the hunting, did the childcare, did the gathering of the berries, because they were working as a team. It was a team dynamic. But they weren't family. That was their relationship. So you have to create boundaries of where does work stop? Where does personal start? You can't blur them. And especially for professional relationships, you can have a genuine relationship with someone, and you could bring yourself, your authentic self, to work in many ways, but not every way. I know that goes against what a lot of people would tell you. You can't completely be authentic at work, but you can be as open as is appropriate for the relationship. Not only is like creating clear expectations and boundaries important, but also leaders and employees, team members, have to hold each other accountable to those expectations, to the role expectations, to the relationship expectations. Sometimes that means having a one-on-one, checking in, just giving feedback. Hey, this is what our relationship looks like. Hey, as a leader, maybe I can't go to the bar with you, right? That's not appropriate. But those are things that we want, that need to be had, conversations that need to be had with the group, with the team. I can't emphasize this. I know even though we're talking about professional relationships, but it doesn't mean you can't have a real relationship, a trusting, deep relationship. And there are some people who may become close friends or chosen family by working together. I'm not saying no to that. I mean, if you build a genuine connection with someone, then go for it. What I'm saying is don't impose it on the group. Don't impose a family dynamic on a team that may not want it. If it happens organically, great. So just to recap our episode together, remember, we don't want to aim for our team to be a family. We want to aim for our team to be a cohesive team that can build trust, engage in healthy conflict, gain commitment, hold each other accountable, and get results. This is what actually makes teams thrive. We also want to set clear expectations and create boundaries so that we honor the working relationship, which also means we can create real, deep relationships, but that is appropriate for the team. It's all about being a cohesive team, not a family. So I'm curious to hear from you about your workplace. You don't have to say the company name, but tell me about your workplace culture. Do they frame your team as a family? Do they try to have you be more as a team? What does that look like for you? And then, of course, like I said, I am a trained and certified trainer in the 5 Behaviors of a Cohesive Team program. So if you are interested in taking your team through it, reach out to me. My information will be in the description. I look forward to seeing you all the next episode. Thank you. Bye.